What if I told you that Range Rover just quietly built the most dangerous car in Canada right now? And no, not dangerous in the way you're thinking. Dangerous because once you sit in it, every other vehicle you've ever owned will feel like a rental. I'm talking about the 2026 Range Rover Sedan. And I have to be completely honest with you. I walked into this review thinking I already knew what luxury felt like. I've sat in S-Classes, I've driven 7 Series, I've reclined in a Lexus LS and nodded politely. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what Range Rover has done with this car. Here's a question I want you to think about while you watch this video. What does luxury actually mean to you? Is it the way a seat wraps around you after a 10-hour flight? Is it silence so complete you can hear your own thoughts? Or is it the feeling that every single millimeter of the cabin was designed specifically for you and nobody else? Because if luxury to you is all of those things combined, then the 2026 Range Rover Sedan isn't just a car, it's an answer. And Canada, trust me, this one was built for us. Let me ask you something before we get into this. How many times have you pulled into a valet line, stepped out of your vehicle, and felt like the car made a statement before you even said a word? In Canada, where we deal with everything from black ice in January to 40-degree summers in Ontario and BC, we don't just want luxury, we demand it on our terms. We need a vehicle that performs in the real world, wraps us in comfort on Highway 401 at rush hour, and still turns heads in Yorkville or on West Georgia Street. The 2026 Range Rover Sedan does exactly that, and then it keeps going. Start with the moment you approach the car. The door handles are flush and electrically deployed. They present themselves to you like the car is welcoming you in. That's not a small detail. That's Range Rover telling you from the very first second that this is a different experience. The doors close with a sound that engineers actually tune and perfect. A deep, vault-like thud that communicates mass, quality, and seriousness. Canadians who've spent serious money on their homes know that sound. It's the sound of craftsmanship. Slide into the front seat, and the first thing that hits you is the space. The Range Rover Sedan is built on a long wheelbase architecture, which means legroom front and rear is genuinely exceptional. The seat itself, finished in semi-aniline leather that's soft in a way that synthetic materials simply cannot replicate, adjusts in 24 directions. 24. You're not finding a comfortable position, you're engineering one. Seat heating and ventilation comes standard across Canadian trims because Range Rover understands that anyone buying at this level is not interested in options that should have been standard 10 years ago. The cabin insulation deserves its own conversation. Range Rover used acoustic laminated glass throughout, combined with active noise cancellation technology that works in real time to filter road and wind noise before it reaches your ears. Drive this car on a salted winter highway outside Edmonton, and the cabin stays as quiet as a private reading room. That's not an accident. It's the result of engineers who obsessed over every frequency and vibration point in the body structure. For Canadians who commute long distances or travel between cities regularly, this level of acoustic refinement changes your relationship with driving entirely. Look at the dashboard, and you're met with a design philosophy that rejects clutter completely. The Pivi Pro infotainment system runs on a curved 13.1-inch touchscreen that's mounted high, angled toward the driver, and responds instantly. There's no lag, no hesitation, no searching through submenus to find basic functions. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are wireless. The system learns your preferences over time, and the interface is clean enough that it actually reduces cognitive load while you're driving, which matters enormously in Canadian winter conditions, when your full attention belongs on the road. Rear passengers in the Range Rover Sedan are not an afterthought. They're practically the point. The rear cabin offers what Land Rover calls its executive class seating configuration, with massaging rear seats, individual climate controls, deployable footrests, and a center console that functions essentially as a business lounge between 2 rear occupants. If you're being driven, or if you regularly carry clients, family, or anyone whose comfort matters to you, the rear of this car will genuinely surprise you. The reclining angle is dramatic enough that long drives between Toronto and Montreal become something you look forward to rather than endure. The panoramic glass roof spans almost the entire ceiling and floods the interior with natural light without generating heat, thanks to infrared filtering. In Canadian summer, when light quality is extraordinary and you're cruising through the Rockies or along the Cabot Trail, the visual connection to the landscape above you is spectacular. At night, the ambient lighting system, fully customizable across the full color spectrum, transforms the cabin into something that feels more like a boutique hotel suite than a vehicle interior. Ride quality on Canadian roads, and let's be honest, our roads are not always kind, is handled by the Range Rover's air suspension system with adaptive dynamics. This system reads the road surface and adjusts damping in real time, multiple times per second. Potholes, expansion joints, uneven tarmac after a hard winter, the sedan absorbs all of it without transmitting discomfort to the occupants. The car doesn't crash or thud over bad surfaces, it glides. And that distinction between a car that merely handles road imperfections and one that genuinely isolates you from them, that distinction is worth every dollar of the premium you're paying. Under the hood, the powertrain options available in Canada include a straight 6 mild hybrid and a plug-in hybrid configuration that delivers meaningful electric range for city driving. For Canadians who value fuel efficiency but refuse to sacrifice performance, the PHEV option is particularly compelling. You get the torque and refinement of a premium powertrain with the ability to cover daily commutes on electric power alone. Range Rover did the math on Canadian driving patterns, and the result is a powertrain lineup that makes sense here in ways it might not elsewhere. Then there's the technology layer that sits beneath all of this comfort. Weight sensing, terrain response systems, and advanced driver assistance features that are genuinely useful rather than gimmicky. Lane centering, adaptive cruise that works smoothly in stop-and-go highway traffic, and a surround camera system that makes parking a large sedan in tight urban parkades significantly less stressful. Range Rover built a car that's intelligent enough to support you without taking over, which is exactly the balance that drivers at this level expect. The 2026 Range Rover Sedan costs real money. Nobody is pretending otherwise. But the Canadians this car is built for are choosing between this and something cheaper. They're choosing between this and a Mercedes S-Class, a BMW 7 Series, or a Bentley Flying Spur. And in that conversation, Range Rover brings something none of those competitors can match: the heritage, the capability, and the cabin refinement of a brand that has been defining luxury on its own terms for decades. This isn't a car trying to catch up to the Germans. This is Range Rover doing exactly what it wants, exactly how it wants, and inviting you to decide whether you're ready for it.